Good morning, folks. This is Lindsay Huddleston back in the building with another SPS Monday motivation. Hope you had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. Always excited to get back with you guys on Monday. Hopefully, I can give some encouraging words to kick your day off, kick your week off, kick your month, life, and all that. Pulling from the headlines of personal experience, I'm kind of going to go back in the archives. Just thinking recently, and I'm thinking about a conversation I had several years ago, not a recent conversation with University of Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh, and this is over at the Rachel Williams Foundation. Shout out to my guy H. And we were talking about successful student athletes and being a man on campus or being a woman on campus, and how you can do all these things. You can hang out, you can party, everyone's happy to have you around. And he said something very interesting. He said, you know, uh, you could do anything, but you can't do everything. That really stuck with me. Who was this morning? Good morning, Michelle Mimi Watkins. How are you? Always good to see you bright and early. Checking in. I hope all is well. Talking about a conversation I had several years ago with Coach Jim Harbaugh, and he said, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So let's talk about this a little bit. The reason why this really stood out to me is because, in my space of promoting mental performance, helping individuals perform at their best, you almost don't want to limit yourself in anything you want to do. You almost don't want to put any limitations on your ability. So now we're getting to the discussion of capacity. That's right, capacity. And how are we defining capacity for this discussion? You look in the dictionary, capacity is simply defined as the maximum amount that something can contain. What's your capacity? The maximum amount that something can contain. Now, I'm very careful with this because I also feel that we have the ability to create capacity for ourselves, meaning that we can work on growing our ability. We can work on growing how much we can contain, how much we can learn. But there's a process to that. So when we get into the psychological aspect of capacity, what does limited capacity mean in psychology? Okay, what does that mean in psychology? The term in psychology is a conceptualization of working memory in which resources, constraints, restrict the processing of information. The conceptualization of working memory in which resource constraints restrict the processing of information. What would that look like? That would look like this, I would think. Here you have full capacity, the green, half capacity, and low capacity. These visuals, I think, can help as far as what we're able to do. See, to the entrepreneurs, to the hard workers, to the hard chargers, to the person who's getting up, going to work, making that project come to pass, I would never tell you to be limited in your thinking of what you can do as it relates to capacity. But there are physical and mental limitations to what we can do as of now. Now, you can work to grow your capacity, or your capacity can be in different stages. Look, just as I look at these different examples right here, or we could talk about capacity in the sense of what can you really handle? How about this visual for some of you? Here is, you have this image trying to juggle all these different things, but you're realizing because it's so many things, they don't have the capacity. So it's not that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these six items represent everything. Now, we can do anything, but you cannot do everything. So what I want to get at with this message is I want you to start thinking about what changes do I have to make sure that I can reach the maximum capacity. And with me reaching the maximum capacity, I get to the point where I can be efficient. How can you be at a point where the things you're working on, the things you want to do, you could put yourself in a situation that you have the capacity to manage them to be efficient as possible? Say great visuals. Okay, if Michelle said great visuals, I got my target audience right there. If you can say, hey, that visual helps me, which I think it would, let's go back to it just to see. The green is the idea. I get it. You want to go, 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 but you can't go 24/7 with no sleep, no rest, just going hard, dealing with other issues. Now, social media plays a role in telling you to go and have this infinite amount of capacity, Michelle. Social media shows you images of things, and man, you got to go, you got to grind. But man, I'm tired after that workout. My body is saying, okay, I need a little bit of rest and I can get back at it. So this go 24/7, never stop. What happens is you end up limiting your ability to produce a quality product. You want to go a little bit further? Let's talk a little bit more about that, Michelle. When new information is encountered, my mother talks about this all the time. When new information is encountered, older information is either regulated to long-term memory or eliminate it, providing a resource to retain newer data. See, in order for you to kind of stay up on things, some got to go. Some are either going to go to your long-term memory and sit or be eliminated altogether. Now, the thing about long-term memory, it's a little bit harder for long-term memory to process and come back up. That's why your short-term memory is always right there. You can get some information really quick because it's happening. It's like if you meet somebody and they tell you their name, you're probably going to remember their name. But if you don't see that person for a while and time passes, that information either goes away completely or goes to your long-term memory, and it takes more for it to get out. Let's talk about mental capacity. And now this is the difference between someone who may have some mental challenges or how we can approach a situation sometime and realize we're not ready. What it really comes down to when you try to just skim over something, go into a meeting. You try to just read something quick and go finesse it. And what happens is we have a limitation with our mental capacity. Someone lacks mental capacity if they can't do these following things. Understand information about a particular decision. If you have something that's complex and somebody's trying to explain that to you, and in the short amount of time that you're trying to learn that, you can't get it, you don't have the mental capacity for that right now. Now, this is no knock on your mental abilities, but you just don't have the ability to process all that information right then, right now. Also, remember that information long enough to make a decision. Sometimes somebody say, hey, man, let me tell you what's going on. They give you all this information, but you're not able to make a qualified decision because you're not able to process that stuff. It may be the time that they gave you the information. It may be the amount of time you need to digest it. It may be other mental or physical distractions going on in your world. Also, weigh up the information to make the decision. You can't do that, or you can't communicate the decision. You can understand it, but you have a hard time communicating. That's why sometimes you got to just take a step back and say, you know what, I'm going to shut things down this weekend and just focus on this project. That way I can learn a little bit, as opposed to you trying to read it right before you go into the office and present or something like that. Michelle says, key fact, mental capacity is not mental ability. Thank you very much for noting that. Getting into the weeds with me right now, Dr. Watkins, I appreciate that. You know, your capacity. Let's go back to the images. This is not about your ability to do something. Like how much capacity, how much can you hold? You ever get to that point? I've done that in my doctoral study. I said, okay, enough. I said, hey, I hit it. I said, enough. And I think that the way we can be more efficient is we recognize these tools internally. This is not a weakness to say I'm low right now. I think it's a strength. I think it's a strength when you can get to the point where you can read your own body, read, you know, how your work product is coming out. If you keep making a mistake on something, hey, it's time to shut it down for a second and realize that we don't have the full capacity to be able to deal with all these things. So I think that's something to keep in mind. I would never want to stifle anybody's ability to go out and make something happen. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm a creator myself. But I also recognize that despite me wanting to do anything, and not feeling limited. My mother told me years ago when I was a kid, I said, Mama, when I grow up, I want to work on an ice cream truck. I get all that free ice cream, right? That was my thinking. She said, no, baby, you want to own the company. So I would never tell anyone to be limited, but I would tell you that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And that's saying you can't do everything at that same time. Oh, talking about blast from the past and a great teacher and mentor and someone I just love. Good morning, Miss Melanie Nunn. And came a long way from freshman year at Henry Ford High School. Thank you, everyone on my timeline who will come back to see that know and love Miss Melanie Nunn. We had a great celebration of all class at Henry Ford a few weeks ago down in the Detroit area, and it's so good to see you. And today I'm talking about you can do anything, but you can't do everything. One of those motivators for me early on was Miss Melanie Nunn when she encouraged me that you could be homecoming king, and I appreciated that. And I ran and was successful, even though no other freshman ran against me, but that's just what scared freshmen do at the time. But I think it goes back to the concept that we get this idea that we got to do it all. And it's not to say you can't do it all in time. You can't do it all with strategy. You can't do it all with planning. But realizing and recognizing what your capacity is, and to be key to make the point that Michelle made, not your ability. This is not taking anything from your ability, but your capacity. Can't do it all right now. I need a break. I need to step away. But do it with a strategy. I'm going to step away. I'm going to get some rest. I want to make room so I can move on to this next thing, because we don't want to live a life where BS and finessing is our modus operandi. You know, you don't want to be known for that. So with that being said, guys, we're approaching the 10-minute mark. I'm so happy to see Michelle Mimi Watkins as always, but also Melanie Nunn. So good seeing you. Wishing you all the best to your beautiful family. as well. So with that being said, this is Lindsay Hudson with SPS. I want to get out of here. I want you to have a great day. I want you to have a great week, great month, great year, great life. With that being said, we'll see you guys next time. And thank you for supporting SPS. Peace.